Hi, welcome to KiwaniTalk. We're a public information show put together by people from the Dearborn Kiwanis Club. Help from students at Dearborn High School, my alma mater, at WDHS facilities. I'm Gary Gardner, and welcome to the longest running cable access program in the entire universe. That's because we've been around the longest of anybody else, and I'm happy today to have as our gift, he's a gift to us, it's our guest, Judge Gene Hunt from the 19th District Court in Dearborn. Judge, welcome to the show.
Thank you, and because you talked about Dearborn High, I just want to put a plug in for Fortson High School too, so Fortson High School.
Yeah, well, for those of you in the 42 cities who watch us who aren't from Dearborn, there is a huge rivalry between the best school in the city of Dearborn and the other one on the east side, although they do have the best looking building.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's 100 and something years old now. It's a historic building.
Yeah.
And it's a great place.
Yeah.
But you weren't there when it was first opened, were you?
No, I was across the street before they built a new one.
You were raised in Dearborn, grew up in Dearborn,
Yes.
worked as a kid in restaurants. Talk about your background, Judge.
Well, we moved here in 1963. I went to William Ford, Woodworth, Fortson. Then after high school, I went in the Marine Corps. Got out of the Marine Corps, went to Henry Ford College, went to U of M Dearborn. And then for 1 year, I went to law school in California. Then I transferred back to Wayne State, finished there. And then after that, I just started, practicing law with my brother for a few years and then by myself.
So what was it that made you want to become a lawyer in the first place? I can tell you why, but we're not here about me. Why did you decide to go to law school?
Well, all the way through, college, because I wasn't, thinking about this stuff in high school, but through college, I wanted to either teach and coach football or some other sports, or be a lawyer. So I was on track to be a teacher, and all I had to do was my student teaching, and I would have got my certificate. But at the time, which was like, 1982, there were no jobs for teachers anywhere except Houston, Texas. And I didn't want to go to Houston, Texas. So then I decided to go to law school. I actually took the law school admissions test in June and got into that school in California in August.
You know, I never started out to be a lawyer, and a good friend of mine who is a lawyer, who actually induced me to become a lawyer, said two things. One, most lawyers don't start out to be lawyers. Doctors start out pre-med, all that. Lawyers are cops, and they're accountants, and they're teachers, and they're all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
And they go to law school. But the person who induced me to come was actually my teacher from Dearborn High School, who started the film program here, Richard Corriveau, who we kept in touch when I went to college, and I had a degree in marketing and management and advertising from Michigan State. I was going overseas for a couple of years, and we met, and he said, "Gary, why don't you think about going to law school?" Because he had been going to law school. I said, "I don't want to go to law school." But what he said was one of those life-changing things. What it does when you go to law school, takes your mind, it stretches it, it twists it, and when you come out, you think like a whole different person. And he was absolutely right.
Yeah.
No looking back.
Yeah.
So when you started practicing, what kind of law did you do, and where'd you practice?
At first, I was in private practice, so you did everything, and trying to do everything, you feel like an idiot. It wasn't a good period of time, because you just can't know everything. But then after you start building up a practice and getting a reputation, you can start focusing more on things that you're getting a lot of business for, and those two things for me were criminal defense work and family law, and that's basically what I did. For 20 years, along with my other practice, I was the court-appointed counsel in Dearborn, and so anybody that couldn't afford a lawyer, they got me. And
so stop for 1 second. People think that if you go to court and you get the court-appointed attorney, you're getting the schlock.
Yeah.
That's not true, is it? Because what do you do every single day? Who do you know every day? Who do you interact with every time?
Right. Oh no, you unless you're going to hire some lawyer that's going to cost you $500,000 out the gate, getting a court-appointed lawyer is getting somebody who knows the system, knows everybody, knows what kind of deals can be done and how you get them done and that kind of stuff. And they've done a lot of trials, so they, you know, have a lot of experience. But like everything else, you still got some that don't do a very good job, and you got some that do a real good job. And I used to get a kick out of people that would come in, and, you know, to you know, talk to me there in court when I was their lawyer, and they would have this terrible attitude like I was an absolute idiot, and you know, they're stuck with me, you know. And then I start talking to them. I start telling them what I think. I start telling them what they should do, and you know, they kind of, okay, man, this guy knows what he's talking about. And I used to get stuff done. And one thing that I'm really, really proud of is I did that stuff for about 20 years, at least, handled over 10,000 cases in that court, and never had anybody file a grievance against me for treating them bad or not doing a good job.
And the thing you just said is you had 10,000 cases. That's 500, that's over 20, it's 500 a year.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that is 10 a week at least.
Oh, yeah.
And in my practice, you know, there was a time when I was doing 100 divorces a year. I thought that was a lot.
Yeah.
But 500 cases in a year, you do get that experience, you get the knowledge, and, you know, it's knowing, like you said, knowing what the prosecutors were willing to do, what they can, what they won't do, knowing the judges, and, you know, a good lawyer knows the law. A great lawyer knows the judge, but the best lawyers know the prosecutors.
Absolutely. That's what you got to go through to get to the judge in the first place.
Absolutely.
If you can't get past the prosecutors, the judge can't do anything for you.
So after 20 years or so, you decided, well, maybe I want to move up. What twigged you, Judge Gene Hunt, to decide to run for judge, or how did you get the gig?
A lot of lawyers in the back of their minds, they would like to be judge, but you just don't want to go through what it takes to get there. But right around the time, a good friend of mine, Judge Holker, my predecessor, he was aged out, so he couldn't run again. And at the time, I was still doing the court-appointed work there. And I thought, it's an open seat. I would never run against another judge or anything, especially in the court that I practice in. It was an open seat. And I talked to my wife and talked to a few friends and, you know, decided to run. And it was kind of late. It was March when I decided to run. The primary was in August.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, I won the election, and it's a great job. The reason it's a great job is, I think we'll probably talk about this a little later, but there's Dearborn, your city courts are misdemeanor courts, and then your county courts are the felony courts. In the misdemeanor courts, you can't put anybody in jail for more than 93 days, depending, you know, no matter what they did, sometimes a year, but that's unusual. In the civil side, nobody files a lawsuit for more than $25,000. So one, you're not stressing about having to throw somebody in jail for a long time, although under the right circumstances, you know, you do that. And you don't have to stress about somebody found a lawsuit and there's $2, $3, $5 million somebody's getting hit with. So there's relatively very low stress level, you know, being a judge in the district court. And, you know, that just, it's worth everything.
So the lowest thing, the very common thing are traffic tickets.
Yeah.
Civil infractions. There's a bunch of civil infractions that come through the court.
Sure.
You have magistrates that help with some of those,
Yes.
but also you can, if you want to, you can see the judge after that.
Yeah.
So that's the, you know, probably the most basic thing. Civil infractions, tickets for parking, having your garbage out, the nuisance
Right.
cases, those types of things.
Yep, yep.
Those take up a bit. And then you've got the misdemeanor. And a misdemeanor is a crime that, like you said, it involves a penalty of less than a year in jail. Mm-hmm. $500 fine, I think, is the max. And those include drunk driving and no insurance and assault and battery, low level assault
Right.
and battery, those type of things.
Larceny,
all those type of things.
Yeah.
So what percentage of the volume of the court is involved in the misdemeanor side of things there, Judge?
Oh, I really probably couldn't tell you that.
How about the volume of cases that come through?
The cases that come to me are basically the misdemeanors. So I don't see much of the traffic docket unless somebody gets a ticket at the same time they get a misdemeanor. or like you say, if somebody appeals, they'll come to me. So I can't tell you percentage-wise. I can tell you that the huge bulk of the cases that come through there are traffic.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's also entry-level felony cases too.
Yeah.
Talk about what stage of a case a felony would come through. Say a car accident that involves someone getting killed.
Okay.
Or armed robbery or home invasion. What happens with those cases? There's an incident, an arrest, prosecutor gives a warrant. What happens then?
Okay. But it kind of starts even before that. If there's a felony and the police are investigating it, they get search warrants very quickly. And they come to one of us, the 3 district court judges in Dearborn, to get those search warrants. Then once they execute those search warrants, sometimes it'll be multiple search warrants after that. After they collect their information, then the charges come. And for the felony cases, can be anywhere from over a year in jail all the way to life, murder, rape, the whole 9. You would have 3 court appearances in Dearborn, 1 the arraignment. At the arraignment, the judge lets the defendant know what his rights are, and the judge sets bond. Then there's 2 court dates after that. One is the preliminary examination, which is statutory, that says that if you want to charge somebody with a crime, you're going to have to come and bring evidence at the district court level so the judge can look at it and see if it's going to get sent up north or not. And the one in between that is called a probable cause conference, and that's where they just talk about if they're going to hold the exam or what they're going to do.
And the idea behind that is the prosecutor or the defense counsel can say, listen, I don't want all this information to get in front of, as a defense counsel. I don't want stuff on the record. I don't want a transcript. So I'll say, or you've got so much overwhelming information. Let's cut to the chase. We'll waive the preliminary exam, go downtown and take our chances there. But if there was a preliminary examination where they have to, what standard does the people have to prove, and what happens at that preliminary exam?
Well, the criminal burden of proof is guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. That's what would happen if it gets sent downtown. At the probable cause conference, all the prosecutor has to do is put on information for each one of the elements that are part of the crime to show that the crime probably occurred and that this person probably did it. If they do that, then that's enough information. It's a very low standard.
Pretty low standard,
Yes.
and off they go down to the circuit
Yes.
court and they get dealt with. Well, this is a good time to take a break. We're going to talk a little bit more about the civil stuff and the light end stuff of that, which I don't like. I do the criminal myself and the domestic stuff. We'll come back. Let's talk about, there's some real special things going on in Dearborn courts too,
Yeah.
that are important to, I think, to people to know about, and you're a big part of that. So we'll come back after a minute or so here with Judge Gene Hunt, who is one of the 3 judges in Dearborn's 19th District Court. Don't go away.
There must be a lot of love out there in the world, at least if you think of all the things people say they love. But it's funny. Sometimes the things we love the most are the ones we don't talk about often enough. I mean, the things that bring true change to a child's life, to a community, to the people who come together and make change happen. Think about what you love about your club. Think about the children it reaches. Think about the pride it gives you. And think about this. Thousands of Kiwanians around the world love being members of their clubs too. So think about what could happen if we all shared our Kiwanis stories. After all, there's a million things to love in the world, but there's nothing like a love that makes the world better. So show it, share it, let the world know.
Welcome back to KiwaniTalk. I'm your host, Gary Gardner. In this episode, where we are featuring one of the judges from the Dearborn's 19th District Court, Judge Eugene Hunt. Judge, and I'd like to call you by your name, but a friend of mine who's now a Supreme Court Justice said, first thing you lose when you become a judge is your first name.
Right. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But I kind of try to avoid that.
I know you do, and that's why when the judge came in today, I saw he didn't have a tie or a suit. I said, great, I don't have to wear mine either, so that's terrific.
Yeah.
So real quick, on the civil side of things, small claims up to, what is that, 5,000 now?
That's 5,000.
5,000 for small claims. Then other cases up to 25,000.
Yeah.
And the landlord-tenant stuff.
Yes.
And it's all part of the court, and there's a pretty good volume of that too.
There is a good volume of that. There were some changes in the court-appointed lawyer implementation about 3 years ago, where the state is funding attorneys for everyone that comes through court from the very beginning. And when they did that, it was impossible for us to run 3 courtrooms that way. So we cut it down to 2 courtrooms that did the criminal stuff and 1 courtroom that did the civil stuff. So the civil stuff is being done by one of the other judges there, and me and the other judge do the criminal side of it.
Okay. Now, criminal side, there's a reason people commit crimes. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's because they have issues, either psychological issues, substance abuse issues, or combination of all of those things. What has the court recognized as far as a way of, rather than punishing people, to try to help them through the issues that they're having?
Okay. When I ran in 2016, I told everyone that I was going to establish a veterans court there, and I told everyone that I was going to establish a sobriety court there. And a year after I got elected, the state approved us for a veterans court. The veterans court is this: a veteran comes into the criminal justice system, a misdemeanor, because we're a misdemeanor court, and they're charged with a crime. The most often is drunk driving. And they come in, and instead of punishing them, what we do is we connect them to the VA hospital, we connect them to VA benefits, we connect them to VA housing, we connect them to employment, we connect them to counseling. We even have it isn't a 501c3, but it's a charitable organization that we set up that if there's something that the vet needs that we can't do with the funding that we get, then we got this money to do it with. One example was we had a vet that came in and his driving record was atrocious. There was no way that he was going to be able to pay everything and to get his driver's license, and he had to have it if I wanted him to move in the right direction. So the charity paid all the tickets that we had to unsuspend his license, and he's on his way. So perfect thing.
So what's in it for a vet to come in? Does the case get disposed of a different way than it would normally be disposed of?
Everything except for driving offenses, which includes drunk driving. That's going to stay on their record. If anything else, any other kind of misdemeanor would be dismissed at the end of the probationary period that they're in the Veterans Court.
And how many vets do you have that come in, that apply, and then complete successfully the program?
We've had 55 graduate, and we have 13 right now. COVID destroyed our Veterans Court during that entire period of time. We're just now starting to get vets that need help into our court, and we take them not just from our court, but we take transfers from all the courts around us if there are veterans there.
I'm just doing a timeline. You got elected in 16, got the Veterans Court in 17, maybe the end of 17, beginning of 18, and then all of a sudden, bam, here comes COVID about 2 years later, and here we are 4 years after that. So
we just now have as many participants in the program as we did pre-COVID. So we just starting to get back.
So when a vet comes in and he finds out about the programs, what kind of changes do you see in their attitude and their lives?
Well, it's interesting, because when people come into either the Veterans Court or my hybrid court, at first they see all the stuff that they have to do. They have to test 3 or 4 times a week. They have to go to counseling twice a week. They have to go to AA twice a week, and they're like overwhelmed. Okay, but we go slow with them. You miss this or you miss that. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Just don't keep doing it. And after there are 3 phases, actually 4 phases, it takes you 12 months to get to the 4th phase. And so after the first phase, when they get into the 2nd phase and they're into the program and they have their, timing down and everything, they enjoy it. They really enjoy it. They love getting out of there in the end, but they do. And I mean, if somebody's messes up, I don't come down on them, with both feet. I say, why'd you do it? What happened? And we just either give them more counseling or we do whatever we need to. So
and then the hybrid court, because there was a drug court, there was sobriety court, alcohol court, or whatever. What's the hybrid court?
The hybrid court is people who aren't veterans, who have either alcohol or substance abuse issues, and they come into the court, same kind of thing. If they get through probation, the case doesn't end up on their record unless it's a driving problem. Now, it's not as good as my Veterans Court, because the Veterans Court, I have all kinds of different things I can do with the VA and all of the people who are trying to help the vets. With the substance abuse, we still have a lot of things that we can do, but it isn't as good as the Veterans Court.
And what's the success rate for people? And again, if you see someone coming in with a drug or alcohol issue, they're a pretty big participant in the criminal justice system. There are a lot of crimes sometimes, those individuals, but they have an impact on the society. But how about their personal effect on the graduates? What is there any person or persons that are memorable for you that you say, this is the shining example I'd like to have?
Well, there are quite a few, but one in particular, I had a female that was in there, and she had an alcohol problem, a severe alcohol problem. And if she didn't make it through my sobriety court, my hybrid court, she had to do 10 months in jail from the originating court that it came from, which it started out as a felony and came back to me. She would mess up. I'd do something, she'd mess up. I'd do something, she'd mess up. And I kept going with her because I knew that she wanted to get off this stuff and she just couldn't, okay? So I kept going with her. Finally, I told her, you're going to jail for 10 days. When you come back, I'll see you. So she came back. I said, okay, you were in jail for 10 days. If you don't make it through this program, each one of those days is a month. You got 10 months to do, all right? Now, I've only got, as you know, 24 months of probation that I can have somebody on. So she violated, and I didn't have any more time with her. I would have had to end it. So my probation officer came up with a great idea. She wanted to adjourn the probation violation out 6 months and give her one last chance to get through. And I just talked to the probation officer. She graduated probably about 1.5 years ago. And she just called and talked to the probation officer. She's still alcohol free.
When you think of a judge as a person out there, you think of this rigid, pedantic type of things. And that's the way you have, unfortunately. But really, it's not like that, is it? You're people.
You know, in order to be a judge, a good judge, I think, you have to have a lot of compassion. You know, you really do. You have to have a lot of patience. I told you guys a story about that guy that got charged with the felony. He was in the hospital. Any other judge, when he started swearing in court, any other judge would have went ballistic.
This was at our Kiwanis meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But I just passed over it. Okay, just pass over it. Don't argue because they've got mental issues, and you know, it goes through. I tell you know, people. I read a book once. It was called "I'm Okay, You're Okay." It was in the Marine Corps, and it was one of those self-help books. And the gist of it was that everyone has three pieces to their personality. They have the adult, the child, and the parent. The child reacts by screaming, hollering, running around. The parent reacts by pointing a finger, don't do that, don't do that. The adult thinks about what's going on and comes up with the best option with how to deal with whatever situation it is. I'm telling you, that book made a big change on me, and you can't do it all the time. Sometimes, you know, you can't control yourself, but for the most part, that's the way I conduct myself.
So if you had to talk to someone, a young person who is coming up from high school, gets out of the Marines, goes to college, good idea to go to law school, good idea to practice law? What's your thinking?
Absolutely. It's a great job. It's very stressful. It's a very stressful job, and it depends on what kind of law you want to practice. Like, there's one path where if you do real good in law school, you get the opportunity to go to these big law firms, and you know that. I would have no parts of that.
I'm with you. I'm not going
there.
Yeah,
no parts of that, because you work 80 hours a week. You don't get a chance to raise your family. You work for 10 years, and if they don't like you, then you don't make partner or associate or whatever they call it. You know, that's no life for me. But you know, you can find a niche. You know, you just
every day is different. For me, every day is different.
Oh,
and
me too. Absolutely.
I tell people I'm down to half days now, just 9 to 9.
Yeah.
Judge Gene Hunt, I want to thank you very much for coming on the program.
Well,
it's great, and I'm glad that you humanize the guy behind the black robe.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to KiwaniTalk. I'm Gary Gardner. See you next time. And if you're going to do anything and get in trouble, try to do it in Dearborn. Maybe you got a chance of getting this guy as your judge. See you later. Bye-bye.
All right.